Today I'm going to talk to you about a few things that you may not be aware of when it comes to buying a condominium in our area. And a lot of this you cannot see at first glance from looking at listings online. I'm going to talk about that for these right now. Hey everyone, my name's Jamey Prezzi. I'm a real estate agent in Miami and Miami Beach. And today I'm going to talk to you about a few things that are super important to know that you really may not be aware of, and you may be spending a lot of time looking at the wrong listings online. But first, before I get started, if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another update. I do put out new videos every week. Also, use the link in my information box and download our free guide today. I do update that guide all the time, so if you have not seen it in a while, go ahead and download it again. I'm more than happy to have you do that. And make sure that you bookmark that page because I update it with monthly updates as soon as they come out. Okay, let's get started. So if you are planning on purchasing a condominium in our area, it is very important to know that it is very different than purchasing a single family home. We have a lot of little details that one needs to know about when it comes to purchasing a condominium. I'm going to cover a few of those today. There's a lot more to know that I will talk about more over the next several months, but I just want to share with you a few things that come up all the time, every day as I'm talking to people. So one of the first things to know is that if you have a pet and you intend to live in a building, it's just important to know that all buildings have different rules and regulations around pet ownership and having the pets inside of the units and inside of the buildings. Some only allow the pets to be in the service elevators. Some have very specific weight limitations and breed limitations, and some don't allow pets at all in buildings. So if you have an animal and you need to purchase a property that allows your animal to be in the unit with you, you really need to make sure that you are looking at buildings that allow pets. And many listings online will say, yes, pet friendly. But what you may not know is that they can be very, very specific. They may say, yes, pet friendly, but they may allow only dogs up to 20 pounds, or they may not allow cats. And they have a lot of different rules around the pets. So if you have a pet and the pet is your loved one, which I know for many of you, the pets are like family members. We used to have 2 dogs and they were like our children. I know how important they are to you. So it's very important to make sure that you spend time looking in buildings that have flexible pet rules and regulations based on the type of pet that you own. Next, people often assume that because we are in a touristy town and we are a vacation city and a fun city, that we allow all kinds of rental rules to be super flexible. And I will tell you, that is not the case. Over the last several years, many cities, municipalities, counties, whatever, they've gotten super strict with their rental rules and regulations. So, for instance, in Miami Beach, in order to rent a property short term, which is anything 6 months and a day or less, you have to be in an area of the city that is zoned. The building has to be in an area of the city that is zoned for short-term renting. And also the building has to allow short-term renting. And in addition to that, you're also supposed to have special licensing from the city. Now, we do not specialize in short-term rentals, so that is not something that I can advise you on. I'm more than happy to give you some information online, but it is a very specific niche within our industry. So I have a lot of people who will call me and say, hey, Jamey, we would love to buy a property where we can rent it out from time to time when we're not here. And I can tell you in Miami Beach specifically, there are not a lot of buildings that allow that. So it's just important to know that if you are planning on purchasing a property here and you want to be able to rent it out, there will be a lot of limitations around what buildings allow that. Now, I will say that most buildings do allow you to rent the unit if you're not here. I would say the majority require at least a 1-year rental. Some will allow 6 months, and some even allow 30 days, or some allow, 90 days. Every building is very different, but if you really intend to do the whole short-term rental thing, you really have to work with someone who's specialized in doing those types of rentals. Next, if you are intending to purchase a property with a tenant in the unit, And I will tell you, many units here that are listed for sale online are tenant occupied. I know a lot of our buyers who call us will say, hey, you know, there are 10 units in this building that we are interested in looking at. But then when it actually comes down to the units that work for them, we're probably only down to maybe 3 or 4 because a lot of the units are tenant occupied for very long periods. And unless that lease has a kickout clause, they are allowed to stay for the duration of their lease. Now, that's generally speaking. We can always have a detailed conversation about one specific unit and ask about that specific lease. But I would say if you were intending to purchase the property as your primary residence and you are getting financing, it's going to be a little bit challenging to have a tenant in the property for a long time after you close because the bank will expect you to be in the unit as your primary residence after you close. So it's just a discussion that we have to have. If you're paying cash, okay, it doesn't matter. You can have the tenant in as long as you want. I do have a lot of people who buy properties as investment properties and they purchase the property with the tenant in it. It's very common here when you go under contract, there's a section where we can call for the lease so we understand the terms of the lease. You have time to review that and also ask about the deposits and just all the details about the lease and that tenant. So just know that a lot of units here are tenant occupied, and depending on how you intend to purchase that property will depend on if that property is available for you or not for purchase. So a long discussion, but I have these discussions all day long and we are very comfortable in advising you on this situation. One other thing that's very important to know is that, and now I'm thinking like 3 other things, so now I'll have to do some more videos, but all right. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is if you intend to purchase the property as your primary residence and you are getting financing, it's very important to know that not all buildings will be eligible for this type of purchase because some buildings are not eligible for traditional financing. So when you are getting financing in our area and you are purchasing a condominium, the bank will put as much weight on the building and what's going on inside of that building as they will you, the borrower. So when you go under contract, the underwriter will send out a condo questionnaire to whoever is responsible for completing that in the building. They will sign it and officially, put their stamp on it that this information is accurate. It gets sent back to the bank. They review it and they say, okay, we'll approve the building and the borrower or not. So it's a little bit of a tedious situation when you do need financing on a condominium purchase, but the most important thing is that you work with a skilled agent who knows how to guide you and also a lender who knows what they're doing so that they can mitigate a lot of these questions and details and situations in advance, because you do not want them to issue an approval letter and then your deposit goes hard and then at the last minute they have not qualified the building because it can put your deposit at risk. So very important to know. I think those are the few main things that I wanted to talk about because they keep coming up again and again as I'm talking to buyers during the week. I'm sure I will think about more things to add to this very shortly, and I will do another video soon. If you have more questions, we are always here to be a resource for you, and I will see you soon.